What about this for round one? Saturday night at the MCG, it is the Western Bulldogs taking on the Melbourne Demons. This is going to be must watch. So much hype around the Doggies. Perhaps we're looking too much into pre-season games, but Brad Johnson, I'm going to come straight to you here because there is such excitement around the Dogs, and we're truly going to see where they're at when they take on the Demons at the G in round one.
And there should be excitement with who they've been able to bring into the lineup, and now seeing Liam Jones in his first two games and what he's going to bring, I think, defensively from that structure it's critical, because they weren't going to get there with Gardner and Keith as the key two. You throw Jones there now as the key and the one who can actually cover the contest with genuine power and speed. All of a sudden it helps Gardner and Keith, and then Bruce becomes the fourth who flows back in there trying to establish that. And Darcy's the swingman either end, because Darcy's not ready physically to go key back, and he's not ready physically to play key forward consistently over an entire game yet. That's still a few years away for the young man. So then you go Norton, Lobb and Ugle-Hagen's just a little bit further in front in his development as a player in English. So all of a sudden, it's the keys. And we know what they've got in the midfield. I think Anthony Scott will go to another level this year. McLean back in there helps with a bit of flexibility and what they can do at ground level. But it's the tools we're all keeping a really close eye on, and they will be the difference. And it could be Jones can be the difference on whether, if he stays healthy, they can become a top 4 team for the first time.
Well, when you looked at their footy last year, most of their games stacked up. With the footy, their clearance game, their ground ball game, it was defensively they were horrible. That was their big issue. But Liam Jones now is the anchor of that defence. And I think people have forgotten, in 2021, he was the number one intercept mark player in the competition. In fact, from 2018 to 2021, the last 4 years, he's averaged the most intercept marks of any player. We're talking McGovern, Tom Stewart, Jake Lever, whoever. Liam Jones has been that man. So I think we've seen that he's going to come back and have a real influence and allow Gardner and Keith just to be able to play their roles a bit better. I like the way the Bulldogs are going. I think even losing Dunkley and Lockie Hunter can sometimes be a positive. We've seen it with other clubs. We all think losing players is a bad thing. Freo lost Adam Chera, and actually we're better for it. I like the stability now with just those 5 midfielders, with Treloar, Bailey Smith, and then obviously Liver, McRae, Bont. Those 5 can spend all the time through the midfield.
You think it was a bit too much?
Sometimes you're trying to please everybody, playing blokes in the centre bounce, trying to find spots for guys on forward flanks. I just think they're ready now, this Western Bulldogs side. I'm pretty bullish and think that they should be challenging. They can win the flag this year.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think you can ever have too many good players. And if you just want to spin magnets through the middle that are really good. Like Josh Dunkley's their defensive midfielder. He was their number one tackler. He was the one that when the ball went the other way, he was first to react. They don't really have that. With the other guys you mentioned, they're going that way, and that's a secondary action. 26 years of age, 120 games, he's primed to be a key component. They were the number one clearance team last year. That was their asset. So their asset now goes from not necessarily their midfield to their tools. We haven't seen that before. So you can't absolutely sign off on it. So this is the fascination with the Dogs. Everyone's talking about Liam Jones. He's coming in not as a nice to have, as an add-on. He's coming in to be their intercept machine. He's coming in. Have you ever seen a player recruited like this at his age to come in and be a one-man wall? I can't remember it. So it's a lot of eggs in the one basket. Now, it may work, but it may not. They didn't have an interceptor last year in the top 40 in the competition. Their best was Ed Richards. So this is a drastic shift from where they've been. So it may well work, and I'm not saying it won't. They're a good footy side. But for me, there are still a lot of question marks.
Well, I think they're not going to play the same way defensively and just rely on Liam Jones to mop up, like he probably did at Carlton, to be fair. I've watched them over the pre-season. I think they've adjusted the way they defend. I think they're not just going to plonk into holes anymore. They're going to play closer to their man and reference, which is important. And their ball use, they're not going to spread the field as wide, because they were a great ball use team, Jono, but they spread it wide and they went to now they're going to go a bit more direct. Go to the tools that they've got, provide a contest which helps them behind the ball, and I think they'll be a bit more direct. I think they're going to find the balance. I really rate Luke Beveridge as a coach. I'm backing him in with their system, as well as the key additions at either end. That's why I think they can challenge.
You talk about Kingy. Every team has a point of difference that can excel them every year. It was Melbourne a few years ago with the run off the square. It was the Bulldogs with the quick handball when they won it. The 4 key forwards, this could be the point of difference. If this works, it changes the game in a big way in their favour, and it comes down to the midfield dominance that allows this to work. So it's exciting, but it's also an element of watch, because if it doesn't, then they all of a sudden, you know, the excitement around the Tools, that bubble burst, and how they progress through that if it doesn't come and work in their favour.
So predictions.
Joey.
I've got them top 4.
Oh, you're keeping a lid on it and going fine.
I've got 5. No, I said this last year when we had this discussion that there's still another year away from real serious top 4 finals football consistently past that.
I was slightly off them last year because of the history of that grand final defeats and all those sorts of things. It stacked up again. But now I think, like Melbourne, a bit of a bounce back year. I can see them spiking back up.
I think Adam Treloar's health is on the radar for me. Now they're down Dunkley, they're down Hunter as a bona fide wingman. They can just put that magnet there every week. So the health of some of these players is critical.